We've hit yet another revolutionary breakthrough, which is running Yuuhime in Forbiter. So first off, this strat was first ran by, I think, a Japanese player in another server, and the score this Team 3 gets is absolutely insane. It's like nothing you've seen before. It is just inconceivable, the amount of points that this Team 3 alone is racking up. Now before you go into this strategy, you do need to have an R6 Yuuhime. This is going to be the baseline. You need her to be at R6, otherwise this strategy will not work. Let me just briefly go through her R6. When Yuuhime's active turn ends, the teammate with the highest attack gains AP. When the active turn of the teammate with the highest attack ends, Yuuhime gains AP. 100% AP, right? Cannot be triggered consecutively. When she got her rework to this new R6, we thought this was going to be extremely broken, right? Because it's basically a infinite turn cycle. But they added this part right here, cannot be triggered consecutively, which means you cannot go back and forth and gain infinite turns. But because we have another unit that gains a bunch of AP, being Mateo from his Spark debuff, when the carrier takes critical damage, Mateo gains 5% AP. So he gains a bunch of AP. Yuuhime can also gain 100% AP when the ally with the highest attack moves, right? So if you make your Mateo highest attack, he's gonna gain a bunch of AP, and then he is going to give Yuuhime 100% AP. She does her skills, she will then crit and then give Mateo 5% AP for each crit, right? And that is the reason why this new strat is extremely busted. Both of these are my guildmates. Their score went up by like 40, 50 million, and this is just the first day of testing this new strategy. Now before I show you the Team 3, Team 2 also plays a role in getting a high score in your Team 3. And the key unit for your Team 2 is going to be Haley. I want you guys to pay close attention to Haley's debuff. This one right here. And look at this. Forbiter still retains the Molten Hot debuff, which is massive. This is a bug that has been around ever since the dinosaur age, pretty much. For this team, the first maybe 1 or 2 turns, your Yuuhime will be linked to your Elif because she has the highest attack in the team, right? But because Mateo gains a bunch of turns, he is going to overtake Elif in terms of attack. And when he has more attack, he will be linked to Yuuhime, which is what you want. Because when he is linked to Yuuhime, what happens is when he gets his turn, Yuuhime will also gain 100% AP, which creates a super cycle. There we go. He gains his turn, and then Yuuhime gains her turn. Look at the amount of AP you're getting, because there's a lot of pursuit attacks with this team, right? You have your Elif doing about 4 hits, and then you have 3 hits from Feng Shun, 2 to 4 hits on your Yuuhime. That's about 11 attacks that can crit, which gives you 5% AP each for Mateo, which is 55% AP for Mateo. And because Yuuhime gains a bunch of turns as well, you pretty much have like 100% AP on Mateo at all times. And also because Yuuhime AP controls the boss sometimes gets 0 turns. Look at this. He almost got a turn, but he got AP pushed by Yuuhime. Okay, so the boss just took another turn, which means he took 2 turns in total out of 100 turns. And it's a lot more consistent than the Yujing team as well. Okay, so here's the damage layout. You're gonna be very surprised. Yuuhime 81 million, doing more damage than Elif. This team alone scored 228 million. Just for context, the Yujing team, the highest I've seen, is around 194, 195 million. And this strat, in the very first day, is scoring pretty much 230 million. So basically, your Elif is now gonna be on speed instead of just raw damage, because you need her to move in order to get the accentuated buff. Right now, my guildie is running Relief set, probably the best set on him, with a lot of speed, and Brawler set. You don't need to run the Avatara set anymore, because the boss only took 3 turns pretty much. Lu Sheng's 2-piece set is Avatara, and then also Relief set because he's not going to take a turn. So you're better off just running him on Relief set so that he can proc the Relief and also give Mateo AP whenever he crits. Yuuhime does not need any speed. You just pump as much damage as possible on her because she's going to be linked to Mateo, which gets a bunch of AP. And then Feng Shun is just going to be fast on the Harmony set. Right now, this is the best scoring team for Forbiter by far. Alright, Sonica time. Not a lot of players are running her, probably because they don't bother to test it. But my guildmate has come to the rescue. Slightly different setup. Elif with no speed this time. And Yuuhime, no speed. She doesn't need speed because she's going to be linked to Mateo. Mateo is pretty much the same as Phobiter. Lusheng this time is faster. And Feng Shun also with a lot of speed as well. It's a little bit difficult to test out teams in Sonica, especially for Team 2 and Team 3, because of this buff right here, Searing Light. Each stack reduces damage taken up to 25 stacks, which is then carried over to your Team 2 and Team 3, right? So if your Team 1 doesn't do well and gains like 25 stacks, then your Team 2 and Team 3 will suffer. Typically, the stacks will hover around 15 to 19 if you have a good Team 1. Mateo and Yuuhime will be linked, so whenever Mateo gets a turn, Yuuhime will then also force her turn, right? Because when she is R6, the ally with the highest attack will force her to gain 100% AP. Okay, he got his turn, he's at 100% AP, so right now he's going to be casting his S1, which is going to give him 10% AP. Elif is going to follow up with her S1, which also is 2 hits, so that's another 10% AP for Mateo. And if you get lucky, she will also cast her S3, which is another 2 hits. So that's already 30% AP for Mateo. And then Feng Shun will cast his S1, which is 3 hits. So that's already 45% AP for Mateo. Check this out, right? He's at 100% AP. Okay, now he's already at 60% AP. Because now Yuuhime is also getting a turn, she's going to be casting her S1 or S3. Her S3 is doing 4 hits when she has the maximum health send stack, or her S1, which is going to do 2 hits. In this case, it's going to be 2 hits, which is going to give Mateo another 10%, which is going to proc Elif for another 10% for 2 hits on her S1, and then it's going to proc Feng Shun for another 15%. So Mateo is going to go up to 100% AP. Check this out. Look. Oh, almost. Because Elif, I think Elif didn't proc an S3 right here, so Mateo couldn't get 100% AP. And also, one more thing about Sonica is the reason why it's so hard to test out teams is because you also need to speed tune it correctly. If you look at the debuff right here, Bafflement debuff, each hit reduces the carrier's damage up to 4 stacks. At 4 stacks, I think it reduces your damage by 80%. So one of these stacks adds like 20% damage reduction. So if you don't have a lot of speed on your Espers and they don't get enough turns or they don't get enough hits when Sonica goes into the charge mode, which is this one right here, you will start gaining the debuff. Right now, my guildmate is running a 0 speed Elif. It's working pretty well just because of the fact that Mateo and Yuuhime takes a bunch of turns. So Sonica barely gets to use her charge mode right here. And the damage layout is pretty insane. It's scoring 143 million by itself, which is about the same as the Yujing team, but I think this definitely can be higher. Because right now, it's still the first day of testing it in Sonica. There's a lot of optimization to do. Maybe more speed on Elif is better. We still don't know yet. There's a lot of testing to do. Oh, I didn't realize my other guildie also tried the Yuuhime team and is running a faster Elif. And also Mateo on the Astral set as well. Okay, the damage layout looks pretty good. It did a little bit less damage, but most of the damage loss is because of Mateo. So I think probably relief set on Mateo and attack boots is still much better than going 170 speed on him. Maybe retaining the speed on Elif is still better though. Alright, Dark Starlord. My guildmate at this point is breaking all of the high score possible. This is, I think, the highest Dark Starlord score ever. It's pretty much the same concept as the other 2 bosses, but he ran a slow Elif. I'm still not sure whether fast Elif or slow Elif is going to be better, because the 2 units that is going to be cycling the most is going to be Mateo and Yuuhime. So probably fast Elif doesn't really matter at all, because she barely gets a turn, right? Even if she has like 100 speed, she barely gets any turn. He's also running a very interesting Team 1, which is running Wu Yu. This team is pretty crazy. It's the best scoring Team 1 that has the potential to get 0 stacks as well. But it's a very risky team. And if you don't have R4 Wu Yu, it's not worth it to run. The score, it can go up to like, I think 30 million. And you can get like 0 stacks. But it's a bit rare for you to get 0 stacks with this team in particular. And the important thing about Dark Starlord is you need to keep the stacks as low as possible, right? The best would be 0 stacks. And I think for Dark Starlord, one of this buff stack gives you 1% damage reduction. So for example, he has 2 stacks right now, right? And if his team 2 and team 3 did 200 million damage, that means this 2% equates to 4 million damage loss. It's a little bit more than 4 million because this buff also gives Dark Starlord AP whenever he gets his turn. At 2 stacks, he gains 2% AP every single turn. Wow, this is actually a pretty bad RNG as well. There's 7 stacks of the buff on the boss, so that's 7% damage reduction. He did manage to get 3 turns of Haley's debuff, so that's a lot of points for this team 3 right here. Again, same concept for the other 2 bosses. These 2 will be cycling like crazy. And at first I thought Yuuhime was going to be spamming her S2 AoE. In contents that they have multiple enemies, Yuuhime usually does her AoE S2 spam. But for some reason in FALSETTO Fantasy, she will prioritize using her S1. Turn 28. Turn 28 and Haley's debuff was still around the boss. That's just how good the turn cycling is, right? Between Mateo and Yuuhime. They just take so many turns that the boss can barely move. My guildmate is running Avatara set on Mateo. You probably don't need to because I don't think he procced 1 Avatara here because the boss barely moved. So maybe Brawler set on him might be better. And the only ones that use Avatara is probably going to be Feng Shun and Lu Shang. Maybe even Feng Shun could be on the Brawler set. That's going to add maybe about 1 or 2 million to his damage. And here's the damage layout. Look at this. 3 DPS team. The team did a total of 151 million. Mind you, this is with the 7% damage reduction. So if you were to add the 7% damage reduction, that is 160 million. It should be more than 161 million because the boss also gains 7% AP whenever he moves, right? So you get less turns. Just for context, my current team, Eugene and Haley, gets maximum 162 million. That is the best possible RNG I've gotten, and I haven't seen it go any higher. With this new Yuuhime team scoring 161 million within a few tries, that's really impressive. And yeah, that's about it. For this Yuuhime strat, it works the best in Forbiter because you can AP control the boss as well. So in some runs, you'll have Forbiter move 0 times if you get lucky enough. But in the other 2 bosses, you cannot AP control the boss, right? It is still the best variant of the team for the Elite team, and I think it's more consistent as well. I really wanted to try Yuuhime, but my Yuuhime is R5, and she doesn't work at R5, she needs to be at R6, otherwise the turn cycling between her and Mateo will not work. I think we might even reach like 1 billion score, even without level 70 cap. Because right now my guildmate is almost already at 900 million. I think it's possible without level 70 cap. But yeah, that's about it, ciao.